Pep Guardiola is likely to go down as the greatest football manager that has ever lived, but the reasons why he's been so successful might surprise you. Guardiola has won a mammoth 31 trophies across a 12-year top-flight managerial career. This includes spells in 3 of the toughest leagues in the world: La Liga in Spain, the Bundesliga in Germany, and the Premier League in England, as well as competing on the European stage. Unlike some of his rivals who play what might be deemed as a more pragmatic style of football, Pep has been known to play some of the most dominant and beautiful football in history.
And like it's here, the ball is not controlled. Always I try to control the game and through the balls, through be away from your goal.
So this begs the question, how does a boy who was born in a small town on the outskirts of Barcelona go on to become possibly the greatest manager ever? I believe there are 3 main areas to look at, and the first place to start with Pep is the fact he was a world-class player. At age 13 years old, Pep joined Barcelona's academy, La Masia. He then went on to make his debut for the first team in 1990 and was a mainstay within the team until he left to go and play in Italy in 2001. Guardiola was the heart of a midfield which would go on to be remembered as the Dream Team, winning 4 consecutive La Liga titles, the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup and the club's very first European Cup in 1992. By the end of his time at Barcelona, Pep had a trophy cabinet containing 15 winners' medals. So Pep knows what it feels like to compete at the top level of football. He's been through the same stresses and pressures which his players are going through. He understands it from their point of view. He reflects on the fact he misses the dressing room dynamic more than anything, with him being quoted as saying, "What I miss most is being in the locker room before the game. The locker room is the nicest place to be. The nicest. The second one is on the pitch, when they are joking, when they are all together, when they criticise the manager, when they share the good and the bad moments." This insight is a rare gift, which only a select few managers get. He can completely empathise with his players. Not only this, but his name demands respect. When you've seen what he's won, you want to learn from someone who's been the best in their position in the world. This experience can inform how he speaks to his players. He understands, perhaps better than anyone, the conversations his players will be having behind his back. But even being a top player cannot get you around some of the hardest parts of being a manager.
The most difficult is when you made the 11 players a selection, drop many players that they deserve to play. That is the toughest moment in my case, in my profession. Always you try to argue the reason why, but of course they don't understand it, but they want to play, what I said before.
It does, however, give you a better appreciation to how players might be feeling. Pep will have seen lots of different types of personalities in the dressing room at Barcelona. He will have seen how to deal with these people and how not to deal with them. Whilst at Barcelona as a player, Pep played under some of the most influential managers in the world at that time. Mainly, it was Sir Bobby Robson and Louis van Gaal, but it was his time under the godlike figure of Johan Cruyff, which impacted not only Pep the player, but also the manager.
Who's the most influential person in your development as a
Johan
coach?
Cruyff by far.
Yeah, I can guess.
Johan Cruyff, yeah. He helped me to love that game, to understand a little bit the secrets in the way he believed or he felt this game. His influence in Barcelona was, well, you know that, but his influence was massive. I think a guy who changed the mentality in Holland with Ajax Amsterdam and after go to Barcelona and change it. Or you have a huge personality to do that.
There is a now famous story about Cruyff and Guardiola. During Cruyff's first week at the club, he arrived unannounced at a Barcelona youth team match. He wandered down to the dugout just before half-time and asked the youth team coach who the young lad was on the right-hand side of midfield. To which he replied, "Guardiola, good lad." Cruyff ignored this comment and told him to move him into the middle of the park for the second half, for him to play as a pivot, with many teams in Spain at the time not using a pivot, but Guardiola adjusted immediately, as Cruyff suspected. He went on to give him his first team debut and be the anchor of the Dream Team. This links into the second point in Guardiola's brilliance. He has some core fundamentals which he wants his team to play like. Pep has been very known to be vocal if he does not like the way his team is playing.
When we draw 1-1, we could have win, but after the game I went to myself and my staff and friends. I said, I don't like the team. I don't like the way we play. It doesn't matter the results, I don't like it. I don't recognize my team the way you should play. And we just come back to the principles, A, B, C, that's all. So wingers high and wide and a lot of players in the middle and come back without the ball, run like an animals, and with the ball be more calm, be more passes.
These fundamentals come of course from the influence of Johan Cruyff. Whilst managing Barcelona, Pep was quoted as saying, "Cruyff built the cathedral. All we must do is maintain it and renovate it." Cruyff transformed Barcelona, and his time at the club was one of the most successful in their history. The only period which was more successful was when Guardiola was the manager. Much was made of Guardiola when he arrived in England, and questions were asked if his possession-based style of play would be successful in England. Pep knew he had to tweak certain parts of his approach, but the fundamentals stay as fundamentals for a reason.
Have you had to adapt to that? Have you had to change your own thinking and style?
Fundamentals, no.
Not the fundamentals,
No.
but just slightly in different thoughts?
But I adapt especially for the quality of the players I have.
It might not be easy for players to understand this new system at first. For example, Pep did not win a trophy in his first season at Manchester City. This was the first time it happened in his managerial career. The scrutiny on his style of play got more intense, and people started to call for him to change his style from a more pragmatic one to suit the English game.
Because the people say, you have to see more pragmatic, more clinical, more pragmatic than me, I'm sorry. Like a number, pragmatic is numbers. It's not when I'm talking about pragmatic, when I'm talking about the way or the something discussed about football, it's numbers. In numbers, I'm good.
But once the players understood this, they became unstoppable, breaking many records when they became the first team in history to win the Premier League with 100 points. For the players, having a manager who has a clear idea about the way you should play football makes it so much easier for you. Pep makes it so you understand the specific details of your position.
Basically, from training to the game up until the last third, like I said before, he used to call it the 3 P's. Play, possession, and position. And the most important one, as you can see, was position. You have to stay in your position, trust your teammates in order for that ball to come to you.
Possibly the best player which Pep has ever managed, Lionel Messi, said this about him. He has something about him. I don't know. He makes you see things in a certain way in terms of how he prepares for the game, both defensively and going forward. He could tell you exactly how the match is going and how you have to attack to win. This creates an image of Pep, like a chess grandmaster, and his players are pieces on the board. On the flip side to this, Pep will not tolerate anyone going against his system within his teams.
So me being me, I went there a couple of times to play with Leo, 1-2 or whatever it was, and I could hear him being upset on the side because I was on the side of the dugout. I still went there. I didn't really care, you know. I scored a goal, 1-0 up against Sporting Lisbon. Come back at half-time, all nice and everything. It took me off.
No way.
It did. I was like, what did I do wrong? So, very similar to Van Gaal. When Pep had the plan, respect his plan.
Not only does he have fundamentals about the way football should be played, but he also respects the tradition and culture of wherever he has played and managed.
And in Barcelona, but always when I was in Barcelona and Munich, I have the feeling, the dream to come here. To train in a Shakespeare country, in the Beatles country, in an Oasis country, the theatre, the movies, so it's not football, this country is special in many, many, many reasons.
The final part to why Guardiola is one of the best ever is the fact that he's obsessed with becoming better all of the time. Look at what he says the season after City have broken every record by winning the league with 100 points.
Yeah, that's the point. When the people say you can improve 100 points, say no. No, because we are not here for do that. But individually, the player can improve. You play with the right, you can improve with the left. And for many, many examples. And because when you can improve, depend the tactics, depend the quality of players.
Pep is like this as a player and he's no different as a manager. He always wants to get better himself so his teams can improve. This sort of culture breeds top-class performance. If the best people within their fields are trying to improve, no one else has an excuse. But this starts with Pep himself.
No, when they don't get the message or they understand the mission, it's your problem. It's your problem, it's the coach problem. So what all the managers in the world, it doesn't matter how good you are if your players don't understand what they're looking for or your players don't understand what do you want. So no sense.
Pep has an interesting way of giving feedback to players on how they can improve. A clip of him coaching Raheem Sterling after an FA Cup victory went viral. But interestingly, the reason he does it straight after the game is because he believes, from his experience, this is the best time to do it.
I love this game a lot, and sometimes in the game when you remember that action especially, and he remembered the players, is the good moment to tell in this situation you have to solve it in this way on the opposite.
One of the best examples of this was after a match against Leeds in December 2021. Manchester City won 7-0, with two of the scorers being Phil Foden and Jack Grealish, who were pictured on a night out after the match. In the next match, a few days later against Newcastle, Pep dropped both players from the starting 11, saying, "I pay attention to behaviour on and off the pitch, so they have to be focused all the time, because the distraction in the Christmas time and everything that happens, you still have to be focused." He knows people can take their eye off the ball. They may think they have made it big time, but he will always be there to make sure they are trying to improve and never stop working.
They have to do it well. When we prepare, they have to do well, and I push them to do it well. So the human being have the tendency to relax, and in this team with me, this is not going to happen. So they have to do it better and better.
This is where we see the culmination of the 3 points. He has a fundamental belief about playing the right way, and how you do it is just as important as winning. Along with this, he knows what it takes to get to the top, and he also knows what it takes to stay there. And the way to do this is by looking to improve yourself and therefore the team every single day. Studying world-class operators like Pep Guardiola can give us all food for thought. But before I leave you with a fascinating insight into Pep's mindset, please consider subscribing to the channel. This is the club, and on here I'm going to be breaking down world-class operators from within sport, so we can take lessons away from them to lead richer lives. So with that said, let's take a look inside the mind of a serial winner.
Look the big athletes, the tennis, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, LeBron James, and all the big athletes is thinking the next one. They don't live about what they have done or, saying how good it is. So what's next? What's next? The greatest go to the shower after win a title, they are thinking in the next one.